Hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode. Today is the long-awaited episode where I'm going to break down how the diet industry and the anti-diet industry really fucked me up and how I got out of that. So if you have been following me on social media, I have been sharing bits and pieces of this story over the past 2 weeks. I mean, I've been sharing this story for a really long time, but I don't think I've ever done an in-depth podcast interview or Instagram live or anything like that where I've shared it all. And I really want to break it down for you because I do believe that my experience is helpful to other people. And I also know that I see a lot of people struggling right now. I know for sure that your health is wealth. And when we can find a sustainable way to approach health, fitness, mindset. When I talk about health, I always mean all-encompassing health. So I'm talking about your mind, your body, and your soul. And if I can help you through my story, I absolutely want to do that. So let's break it down. My story basically starts in 2011. If we want to rewind a little bit before that, I will say that I've always had an interest in health and fitness. I even did a couple semesters studying exercise science. I was a personal trainer when I was going to college. It's something that I've always been fascinated with. And that fascination and that interest has never really left me. But in 2011, I had my first baby and I had planned so much for him arriving, right? We think about all the baby things that we need. We read all the books. We think about the milestones that he's going to go through, how our lives are going to change. But the one thing that I really didn't think about was how my body was going to change. For some reason I realized that I was getting bigger and I realized I was gaining weight, but I really wasn't prepared for the fact that I was going to get home and I was going to have this baby. It was going to be the best day of my life, but I was going to feel miserable in my body. I didn't really prepare mentally for that. And I just remember looking in the mirror and crying, thinking there is no way I can allow anybody to see me like this. I don't fit in any of my clothes. I'm just miserable in my body. And it was at that moment, it was day 3 or 4 of having a baby. Where I was I will lose this weight and I will never gain it back. I never ever want to feel this way ever again. At the time, I did not have a great relationship with my body. I did not like my body. Even before I got pregnant, it was a constant fight of wanting to be able to live my life, but also wanting a ripped body and thinking that if I lost the weight, it would fix all of my problems, right? Most people think that money is going to fix all of their problems. For me, it was my weight. I needed to lose this weight as quickly as possible. And I never, ever wanted to gain that weight back. So I went on a health and fitness journey. I actually ended up going to a med spa where they did prescribe me. I forget what the first prescription that I got at the time was. It was similar to phentermine, but it wasn't phentermine. I can't quite remember what that was, but I went to, I think it was Medi Weight Loss or something like that, where they put you on a super low calorie diet with an appetite suppressant that you take throughout the day and you lose the weight. So I ended up losing a lot of the weight really quickly. And then I stopped going because that can get really, really expensive, especially if you're going every week or every other week or whatever it was. And so I was no longer doing that. And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And I was determined to lose those last 10 pounds of weight. I was I don't need Medi Weight Loss anymore. I'm going to figure this out on my own. And at the same time, I was struggling with being a stay-at-home mom. I loved the time with my son. I loved having the time freedom, but I also wanted something else for me. I also wanted to help provide for my family. And so one day we were at home and I was scrolling on Facebook like I always did. My family would tell me if I could just make money on Facebook that I would be a millionaire. And I saw a friend talking about this health and fitness challenge that she was putting on. And I was instantly intrigued. I was wait a minute, because I had done network marketing before. I was a part of Arbonne for about 3 years, when I was doing at-home parties, and I rocked the shit out of those at-home parties, and I was really great at that. But when I became pregnant, I decided I never wanted to do that again because I didn't want to be like passing my son off to my husband as I was going to these home parties. So this was way before social media. And so I kind of said I would never do network marketing or direct sales again. But I was really, really intrigued by my friend who was running these fitness challenge groups online and doing it all on Facebook. So I asked her, first and foremost, I was like, hey, what's this fitness challenge about? I really need to lose this last 10 pounds of baby weight. But I also want to know how you're doing this. I want to know like what you're doing, because if I could make money from Facebook, like this would be the answer to everything, right? Not only would I be accountable to my own health and fitness, not only would I, not want to gain the weight back because I would be presenting myself on social media and sharing my results. And so I thought that this was the ultimate, like this was the answer. If I became a health and fitness coach, then I would have accountability to myself. I could help other people do the same, and I could earn an income for my family. Like, sign me up, I am in. I jumped in right away to this health and fitness challenge group, and I also signed up to be a coach. I really, at that time, I know this isn't a story about my business, but a lot of people are here for both. I really, at the time, didn't jump like too far into the business, and I actually ended up getting my personal training certificate right alongside of this. But the more that I started to build the business, the more I like really got in deep to the business, if you will. I lost the 10 pounds. I was able to earn some cash for Christmas, and I was like, this is the answer. But what I was told was the more results that I got, the bigger transformation that I got, the more my business would grow. So immediately this became a source of frustration, because I was like, okay, I need to not only maintain these, but I need to get better results, and it's never enough. And I like, there has to be, something that I can do in order to keep my body this way. And it just felt like everything that I did wasn't working, because it was like, I would lose the weight, then I would gain it back. Then I ended up getting pregnant again, and I was actually really healthy through my pregnancy. I will say that my second pregnancy was a lot better than my first pregnancy. I didn't gain as much weight. I exercised through that pregnancy. I ate a lot healthier. But in the back of my head, all I could think about was, okay, as soon as this baby comes out, like I'm headed right back to a weight loss clinic so I can lose this weight super quick and my business could grow, right? I don't think I've ever like admitted this out loud, and this is super vulnerable, but, with my first son, I did not breastfeed. I tried to breastfeed and I just didn't make enough milk. And so I kind of made the decision that I wasn't going to breastfeed with my second son. But part of the reason I made that decision is because I knew that I could not get on that weight loss drug if I was taking it, or I couldn't breastfeed while I was taking that weight loss drug. And so anyways, I decided not to breastfeed. I didn't even try. And I think it was like 2 weeks after we got home from the hospital, I went straight to a different medical clinic here closer to us, and they prescribed me phentermine. And that was really the start of my addiction to stimulants. I guess you could say that it started after my first son, but I really wasn't that heavy into it until after I had my second son. And I thought that this was like the answer to everything. And so it would help me to lose weight. It would help me to grow my business because I would provide these transformations. Like, look at me, here you go. I'm not proud of this. Let me say this first and foremost, is this was a really hard time dealing emotionally with the fact that I did not have a good relationship with my body. I did not have a good relationship with food. And I just thought that one day it would all click. And I was doing whatever it took in order for me to be able to create this quote unquote lifestyle that I thought I was creating. But I really got caught up in this addiction of stimulants really quickly. And so as the time went on, I would lose the weight, then I would gain the weight, I would get off phentermine, I would gain all the weight back, then I would go back. And it was just this cycle that kept happening over and over again. And one year I was training for a half marathon, and I had gotten off the phentermine. But after the half marathon was over, I started to have major ADHD symptoms, like so bad that it would take me like 2 hours to unload the dishwasher. And I remember going out to lunch with my husband and just crying to him saying like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't focus. I can't get anything done. I really wasn't having like too many weight issues then. I was kind of sustaining at that point. I mean, I just finished a half marathon. And I'm sure if I would have just stopped running and doing all those things, I probably would have gained the weight back. But I started to struggle with these ADHD symptoms. And so I went to the same clinic that prescribed me the phentermine, and I met with the doctor, and she had me fill out this form that basically, it was a questionnaire. It was like a 1-page questionnaire. Maybe it was 2 pages. And she's like, yeah, you definitely have ADHD, and I really think that you're self-medicating with the phentermine. So the phentermine would help me as far as my focus would go. And she's like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you back on the phentermine because you could probably lose about another 10 pounds. And then we will go from there. So I was like, great. Like, this is the answer to everything. I have a drug that's going to help me focus. It's going to help me to not eat. I can maintain my weight loss. And this is it. And so I ended up losing the 10 pounds, and she's like, okay, I can't prescribe you the phentermine anymore. Let's go to Adderall. So she prescribed me Adderall, and at first it was great until it wasn't. And if you've heard, and I'm not going to go deep into my addiction, but I have a lot of podcast episodes on that if you want to check that out. But I got really addicted really quickly to Adderall. And I spent 2 years basically going through a prescription in 2 weeks. I was just tearing my body up. I wasn't barely eating anything. But the thing is I was getting so much praise from the outside. I quote unquote looked the best shape of my life. I was the thinnest. I am very muscular. Like, my genetics are very like that's just who I am. I have a muscular body. So when I lose weight, I looked really toned up. And so I was getting this praise from everybody while I was dying inside. I knew that this addiction was killing me. There were times where I wouldn't go to the bathroom there was one time I remember it was like almost 3 weeks that I didn't go to the bathroom, and you could literally see my stomach like pushing out because I couldn't go to the bathroom. I was crazy manic all the time. It just was not a good situation. So I was getting all of this praise from the outside of people telling me how good I looked, how I looked like they just wanted to look like me and they want to know what I was doing. But I was also like holding this lie in that I was abusing this drug, and that's what was helping me look the way that I looked. Eventually, it stopped working because my body started fighting back, and I started to get really inflamed. I would go through my script so fast, and then the last 2 weeks of the month, I'd just be like eating and sleeping. And so I would be losing and gaining weight like rapidly. And at the end of my addiction, I remember trying to do a cleanse. It was like a 21-day cleanse that the company that I worked for sold. And I did really well until I was able to get my prescription again. And then as soon as I started popping the Adderall, I quit the cleanse. And that was the moment that I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I am going to kill myself at some point if I keep taking all of these pills, and this is not healthy. This is not the mom I want to be. This is not the person I want to be. This is not the health and fitness coach that I want to be. And I didn't even realize I was doing damage to myself, but I was also lying to everybody else around me. And it's like one of the most embarrassing things to admit, but here I am. I have said sorry a million times, and this is why I'm so authentic, and this is why I share everything, because I refuse to be the person that only shares the good things, because I was that person for so long. And I know some people aren't going to agree with that, and maybe this is going to turn off some people from my story, but that's okay because it's part of my story. It is who I am. Everybody has a past, and I really have worked on being a better human since that experience. So in June of 2016, I gave up my addiction, and I knew that I really had to focus on myself. With that being said, in the 4 to 6 weeks after I gave up Adderall cold turkey, I gained about 20 pounds. And from that moment on, I was still fighting with my body. I still had it in my head that if I could look a certain way, if I could achieve these results, that everything in my life would be better. my life would be better, my confidence would be better, my relationships would be better, my business would be better, everything would be better. And so I went on this journey of trying to figure out what was going to be the answer for me. I realized I had hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. And so I was like, okay, like I was so excited to get that diagnosis because that meant that I had something that I could quote unquote fix. But in the back of my head, I kept thinking like, if I could quote unquote fix this diagnosis, then my body was going to look like I was going to get the results of my body and I was going to be able to look a certain way. And so I tried all of the things. I did elimination diets. That was so miserable. Ended up making my Hashimoto's and hypothyroid worse than when I wasn't doing it. So then I knew like, okay, I can't do this elimination diet because I was so stressed out. Like I literally could eat nothing. It was absolutely ridiculous. And so instead of doing an elimination diet, I was like, well, I'm going to try intermittent fasting and low carb. I had kind of been playing around with low carb when I was on Adderall anyways. And so I was like, let's do this. So I dove into that. And at first it was good. Like I lost some weight, but by the end of that, my body was just done. I started to like, no matter what I did, I just became more inflamed and more inflamed and more inflamed and more frustrated. And like, you know, I would do these workout programs that my company would come out with. And I just felt like it was so frustrating. Like I really felt like I was banging my head against the wall because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't sustain the results that I had. Like I could get the results, but I could never sustain them. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, is this going to be my entire life? Like chasing the next 10 pounds, gaining it back and chasing it again. Like I can't keep doing this over and over again. And around that time, the company came out with a program called ADD Obsession. Some of you might be familiar with it. And I was like, this is it. The hype that they had around this program was so big and basically convinced everybody that this was going to be the answer, right? And I thought, okay, this is perfect. This is what Autumn used to get in to do bikini competitions. And I even considered at the time, it was like 2018, I think, 2017, 2018. I can't really remember when that came out, but 2018, I think. I was like, oh, me and my friend were planning to do a fitness competition together. We're like, we'll use this program, we'll get the result, and we'll do a competition. Well, she ended up getting pregnant, and so I didn't want to do it alone, and I didn't commit to that. But I did commit to the program. I committed to doing the program 110%. And I'm pretty sure that I followed through 99.9%. I can remember one night where I had a piece of chocolate. So the program was like 93 days long. I gave up alcohol. I followed the nutrition plan to a T. And like I said, there was one night I can remember where I did have a piece of chocolate, but that was about it. Like I followed this plan to a T. I got into the best shape of my life. It was time nutrition. So it was following macros, but it was like quote unquote clean food, and it was in the container system. And I was a crazy person. I said no to going and doing things with my family. I remember they went camping one weekend and I didn't go because I was like, I have to stick to this nutrition plan. Again, I thought it was the answer. I thought it was the answer to my body looking a certain way. I thought it was the answer to my business. I thought it was the answer to all of my problems. And I was seeing results. So I was super, super excited. Well, Beachbody has this thing where they like you to get results. And then I feel like they even like sabotage you a little bit when it comes to, you know, gaining some weight back. And then they say, it's okay, just jump back on track, get more results. The day after we all finished ADD Obsession, they sent us to Mexico on a Success Club trip. And I was like, you know, a week in Mexico isn't going to hurt my results. Like, I'll just get back on track when I get back home. Everything's going to be fine. I ate and drank all of the things, like all of the things. I remember like just binging out on desserts during that trip because I hadn't had it for 90 days and I was so restricted. And I started to really get a bunch of anxiety about coming home because how was I going to do this? How was I going to come home and make this a lifestyle? I couldn't live the way that I lived for those 90 days because I was literally in my own world and I could not be that strict all of the time. And so the anxiety started to set in, like, how the hell am I going to maintain these results? And so I got home from that trip and it was just a struggle after struggle after struggle when it came to achieving these results. And that was like the beginning of me learning to not hate my body, because I was so frustrated with the fact that I could not achieve these results. I started to question everything, and I started to look around and see what other people were doing. And like, maybe I wasn't meant to look a certain way. Maybe I wasn't meant to have sustainable weight loss. Maybe I'm just meant to live my life. And I started to question a lot of things, but I kept going. I kept trying different nutrition plans. I kept trying to do the container system, and I just could not stick to anything. It was so frustrating. I remember at the Christmas of 2018, I looked at my friend and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot continue to chase the results. I want to love myself. I want to love my body. I want to love the skin I'm in. And I'm tired and frustrated, and I'm tired of banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what the answer is. I can't keep doing this. And so going into 2019 was kind of when I started to really make the shift away from health and fitness. And this is where the diet industry really had me messed up, because, the diet industry doesn't want you to have sustainable results, because they want you to keep coming back. They want you to spend money on supplements. They want you to feel like they're the answer to what you need. And so slowly I started to work on myself. I hired my first life business coach. I started to work with her. I really started to work on the relationship that I had with myself. And I kind of slowly started to gain weight. I've recently been going through the pictures, because I've been sharing the pictures on my Instagram of the past. And even though I was starting to gain weight, I was still trying to lose the weight. And I would still lose a little bit of weight here and a little weight there. But I really was just starting to like relax and fall into a groove that felt good to myself. And then I found the anti-diet movement. In fact, I actually found the Fuck It Diet book, and I read that book, and it was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I thought, this is the answer to everything. Like, this book is telling me everything that I've been wanting to hear for the past, 6 or 7 years. And I was ready to go on this journey of learning to love my body. I had to unlearn how to hate myself, because diet culture had me hating myself, right? And I hated the way that my body looked. And I'm like, no matter what my body looks like, I want to learn to love it. And so from that moment on, I quit dieting. I quit chasing weight loss. I dove deep into the anti-diet movement and industry, and I started to shout it from the rooftops. I'm actually not really proud about a lot of things that I did during this time period, but it's brought me to where I am now. And so, I'm thankful for the journey, and I'm thankful for all the things that I went through, but I went deep into anti-diet. You are not allowed to talk about weight loss around me. Health is not a size. I still truly believe that health isn't a size. But the way that it was shoved down my throat, I was like, this is the answer to everything. I think I ate buttered noodles every single night for 3 months, because that was something that I couldn't eat when I was really restricting and deep in disordered eating. But I slowly started to learn to love my body. I started to heal my relationship with food. I allowed myself just to eat. And in hindsight, I needed that time. I needed that time to heal my relationship with food, to allow my body to heal, because I had done so much damage to my body. My body needed the nutrients. It needed to gain that weight. And I know not everybody's journey is the same, but I truly believe that going through that part of this journey really, really helped me to heal and get to where I am now. And this is when I became a confidence coach. I stepped away from health and fitness. I said I would never go back. I would never do that. It's just a horrible industry, all of the things. And as I started to really love my body and be okay with it being a bigger weight, in fact, I even started dressing differently and dressing in clothes that I normally wouldn't even dress in when I was a lower weight, but it just felt really good. I felt free. I felt like I could actually go out and live my life. And then 2020 hit. And I started to not feel as good. It wasn't that I didn't love my body or the way that I looked, because I really, really dove deep into subconscious work and shifting my identity around loving my body. In fact, my brand was hashtag more than a body for a really long time. And I started to move away from that because I realized that I am in this body. I do need to like love this body and take care of this body. But I was so deep into, I call it like a pendulum. Like at one point I was all the way on the side of diet culture and disordered eating. And then I had swung way over to the other side to anti-diet. And in this moment where I started to not like feel good as far as like my health went, my Hashimoto's was out of control at this point. I had gained 60 pounds in a year or two, and I just wasn't feeling good. But in the anti-diet movement, I felt like I had all of the same rules that I had in the diet culture movement. Or not the same rules, but I had rules. And that's what I was trying to get away from. I was trying to get away from a life with all of these rules, because the rules just kept me fucking frustrated. And so there was a time where I remember like I wanted to focus on being healthier. I wanted to focus on moving my body intentionally. I wanted to focus on eating intentionally. I wanted to focus on losing weight. But you're not supposed to focus on intentional weight loss. Like that is wrong when you are in the anti-diet movement. And if you do that, it is disordered eating and there is something wrong with you. You need to learn to love the body that you're in and all of these things. And so I was so fucking confused because I was like, I thought this was the answer to everything. I thought that, you know, learning to love my body and being anti-diet was the way that I could live my life. When in fact, it wasn't. It was a part of my journey. It was what got me to where I am today. But at a certain point, I was no longer aligned with the rules of the anti-diet movement. And I kind of felt embarrassed to even admit that because I was so loud about the anti-diet movement. I was preaching it from the rooftops. If you came around me, I was going to talk to you about it. And I remember August of 2020, I wanted to buy a scale because I had thrown my scale away at that time. I was like, I don't need to weigh myself. It's fine. And I remember talking to my best friend and I was like, hey, I want to weigh myself, but like I mentally could not do it because I was told that I was wrong and I was bad for wanting to know my weight, for wanting to even focus on any intentional weight loss. And she was like, Ashley, this is your life. You can order a damn scale. You don't need to tell anybody about it. Do what you want to do. And I did. I ordered the scale of that as soon as I got off the phone with her. And the next day I weighed myself and it was the highest weight I had ever seen, higher than when I was pregnant. Like I gained a lot of weight. And the really cool part about this is I didn't beat myself up about that because I had worked so hard on learning to love myself and becoming my own best friend. I had gained the confidence without losing the weight. Like I always thought that the confidence would come once I lost the weight, but what I realized is the confidence came once I healed my relationship to myself and to my body. And so I said to myself, like, what if I just committed? What if I just committed to doing the basics for a year? I was like watching some people who were counting macros and I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what macros are because when I did ADD Obsession, that was pretty much macros, but it was like very restricted. What if I just set my calories super high, set my macros high, I tracked them, I worked out a couple times a week and I showed up for myself. And I did the best that I could with what I had, but I also wanted to be very clear that I wasn't going to restrict my life away. I was going to enjoy my life. I was going to be consistent, but also like I wasn't doing this quote unquote, I can only have clean food, right? Like everything fit. I did not want to restrict it all, but I wanted to be intentional. And so I started out on this journey and I ended up losing like 12 pounds right away, I think, when I started tracking macros. And I remember I started tracking at like 2,000 calories. I really, really believe the fact that I went like 2 years of just letting myself eat whatever I want helped me fix my metabolism and was able to like raise my metabolism up. That's a different story for a different time we can get into. But I needed that time for my body to heal. And I really think that I did. And I was able to see results by just sticking to like actually fueling my body with food, not restricting, allowing myself to have things here and there, and just putting one foot in front of the other. And later that year is when I decided to give up drinking alcohol. And part of that came with this intentional like way of living. I found my happy gray area in the middle, right? Like when we talk about the pendulum swinging from one side to the other, it was like the pendulum had kind of landed in the middle and was just kind of swinging back and forth. And a year after I committed, I lost, I think about 25 or 30 pounds. And I said to myself, what if you just committed to another year? What if you just kept going? And the cool part about this is I never felt frustrated during this journey. I always felt excited. I always felt really good in my body. I was always excited to buy new clothes. I wasn't like dying for the last like 10 pounds to be lost. And I finally, when that second year came and I lost a total of 50 pounds, I was like, holy shit, like this is a lifestyle. Because I thought, okay, well, let's commit to another year. And then I was like, no, Ashley, you're just like committed to life. This is like just what we do. And and you have made this something that you've always wanted it to be, because it wasn't restrictive. It wasn't obsessive. It was just a part of my life. And it was into year 2 or 3, like year 2, I guess it would be, my husband and I decided to commit to doing 75 hard. And I was really, really hesitant on committing to this, but I am glad that I waited to the point that I did to commit to it, because if I would still have been in my like restrictive mindset and my obsessive mindset around health and fitness, it probably wouldn't have been a positive experience for me. But it really was. It pushed me. It got me a little bit uncomfortable. I ended up losing a little bit more weight. And I just felt really good inside of my body. And through that process, I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do a bikini competition. I was like, I wonder if I could do one. And I had told my sister about this, and she's like, you have to do one. And so that was the time that I found my coach, and I explained to him all of this. Like I went through everything with him, and I said, look, I want to do this competition, but I'm not willing to compromise my mental health. I'm not willing to go back into disordered eating. I'm not willing to mess up my metabolism. I'm not willing to do all of these things. Are you willing to coach me through this process? And he's like, hell yeah, this is what I do. Like it was the perfect match. When I was on the phone with him, I'm like, this is so exciting. So we worked together for an entire year. I prepped for about 4 or 5 months, and I stepped on stage for the first time in August. And since then, it's November. So August, September, October, November, like 4 months, right? Since stage weight, since I stepped on stage, I've only gained about 3 or 4 pounds, just depending on the day. But we have raised my calories. I'm eating more than I've ever ate before. And I've continued to sustain that 60 pounds of weight loss that I lost total from August of 2020. And I don't feel restricted at all. I feel amazing. I feel like I get to live my life. I feel like I have created this lifestyle that I was craving so hard for when I was deep in diet culture and disordered eating. And part of that also has to do with the fact that through this whole process, I really started to become interested in learning about the subconscious mind and learning the fact that in order to create this lifestyle I wanted to create, I really had to make an identity shift. I had to shift from the person that I once was to the person that I wanted to be. And so I fully believe that not only doing the basics consistently over a long period of time got me to where I wanted to be, but also working with my subconscious mind and my identity to create the person that health is a priority, to create a person that working out is a priority and eating healthy is a priority, and being able to heal my relationship with my body and food and all of those things came from the work that I did with my subconscious mind. In that process, I also became an NLP practitioner, then a master practitioner, and now I'm a trainer of NLP, life coach. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I have all of the things underneath my belt. And so as I was growing this coaching business and as I started to do this bikini competition, I realized that my heart really is in the health and fitness industry, not the diet culture industry, not the anti-diet industry, but helping people find this overall encompassing health that really focuses on their mind, their body, and their soul, where they can feel good from the inside to the outside, where they can make the identity level shifts so that they can feel connected with their body and not feel frustrated with the plan that they're trying to execute. And when you are connected with your body, you are tapped into your power. When you're disconnected from your body, you're completely disconnected from your power. And that was a huge part of this journey. Without the subconscious work, I do not think that I would be where I am today. And I really, really tribute where I am today with doing the subconscious work. And anytime that anything comes up, I always go back to that identity level work, working with my subconscious mind, looking at the beliefs, looking at my values. And it has been really priceless to be able to do that. And so a couple weeks ago, I decided to step back into the health and wellness space and start offering health and wellness coaching. And the one thing that I'm going to be bringing to these packages is that subconscious work, is that identity level work. I want to help you to find the freedom that I have found while creating the way that you want to feel, while creating the body that you want to have, because it is possible. You know, when I was in the anti-diet space, I was told that you have a set point as far as your weight goes, and that's it. You were born with this weight. You have to stick with this your entire life. You can never change anything. And what I've learned is that's absolutely bullshit. And you can change your quote unquote normal if you want to. It's just going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's something that you're going to have to be committed to. But when you start to commit to the process and you learn to enjoy the process and you heal that relationship with yourself and your body, it feels so fucking good. So with that being said, I am going to be doing a masterclass called Identity Revolution. This is going to be a 60 or 90 minute masterclass. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to share with you all of the steps that I took to get to sustainable weight loss. So I'm going to share with you the subconscious work. I'm going to share with you the foundation that I laid. I'm going to give you everything. And you're going to walk away with tangible tips on how to apply this to your life so that you can start on this journey yourself. I want you to feel good about the health and fitness journey that you are on. And what I'm going to be sharing inside of this masterclass is going to help you to get there. So from today until Cyber Monday, the masterclass is on sale for $22. I will link it in the show notes below. You can grab your spot. After Cyber Monday, the masterclass is going to go up. The masterclass is going to take place on December 7th at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. However, the recording you will have for a lifetime. So if you can't make it live, you can grab the recording and you can have that for a lifetime. But I am going to break it down. Like I shared with you my story, but I'm actually going to break down the steps that I took so that you can take those steps and apply them to your journey, and you can start to see the results that you want to see, and then you can start to sustain them. Instead of feeling frustrated, I want you to feel satisfied with this journey. So if that's you, make sure you grab your spot in this masterclass, and I will see you on December 7th. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. If you think this episode will help somebody, please take a screenshot of it, share it on your Instagram, tag me in it. If you have questions, send me a message. I would love to answer any questions that you have, and I will talk to you in the next episode.